everyone, I'm Christine Cusinelli. I'm the CEO of CLC Strategies, and it's my mission to help women make it in the C-suite without sacrificing balance. Today, we're going to talk about our topic of the week, which is ditch the to-do list. So I know we all like to-do lists. I happen to like them as well. But I've also managed to live my life with less to-do lists now that I've learned how to master my time schedule. So today we're going to talk about habit switch number 3, which is building pillars into your calendar. Let's have a look. So the other day I was on a conference call, and there was a woman who in the very first 5 minutes when you're waiting for everyone to settle themselves in was talking about how busy she was. And she was talking about how everyone was coming to her to solve their problems. She was so busy she couldn't get all of her work done. And to be frank, there was a lot of problems that I think she was solving that were not hers to solve. So if you look at that frame of mind, if you're a leader and you approach groups, you approach the people you serve with the mentality that you're so busy, I'm going to tell you that it really sends off the opposite message than perhaps you think it might. When you're the leader and people see you running around talking about how busy you are, the impression they get is actually that you're prioritizing all of these other tasks, and probably some of them can be seen as, in their minds, unimportant tasks. So you're prioritizing those and won't have time to prioritize their needs. If you're a leader in an organization, that is going to cause you issues down the road. So people that generally feel like they have to run around talking about how busy they are, they do this for 3 reasons. Number 1, they don't have an actual plan. Number 2, they're not focused on what is the goal at hand. And number 3, sometimes I wonder if they're looking for purpose. Sometimes I wonder if they're looking around to figure out, well, what is it that I'm needed for? And if that's the case, you have to do some pretty deep digging to find out what is that all about. So to be honest, I'm going to challenge you today. If you're one of those people that runs around telling people how busy you are all the time, ask yourself, why do you do that? Why is it important for you to validate yourself with busyness? So I want to tell you today what the most effective and successful people do, and usually those are the ones that have their plates the most full. So they are the ones who are able to, like a duck on the water, travel and glide very silently and carefully while their feet are doing all the work underneath. Personally, that's the kind of leader I want to be. So here's how you do that. Those leaders, they know how to schedule their time. The number 1 way to do this, in my opinion, is to create time pillars using your calendar. This is also known as time blocking or time boxing. And I like to call it pillars because pillars are the foundation of what holds up some really important buildings, right? And for me, I feel like when I have the big things first scheduled into my day, around that, I feel very comfortable being able to schedule in other things. So, you know, when you contact a friend and you want to settle in making a dinner plan, and often it takes them a while to get down to the nitty-gritty. Let's meet for dinner. Sure, sounds good. Blank, blank, blank. I'm always in awe of this. The next question is obvious. What time, what date, and where are we going to go? So for me, the moment I encounter those kinds of plans, I immediately revert to, okay, it's going to be a pillar in my calendar. And so I create that space, I put it in the calendar, and it's there. So other things now formulate around it. And then when I go to look into my calendar every day to do my planning and estimating how much time I'm going to need for things, if I've got a dinner coming up later on in the evening, I know that I'm going to have to prepare myself ahead of time. So this is why this is such a game changer, because obviously the big things come first, and that includes family. The other thing is that it includes you time. I had the experience of working as a cabinet minister, which I have to tell you, politicians have some of the most busy schedules I've ever seen. And when you're a cabinet minister, you can multiply that by about 1,000. It's an amazing experience, and it's also a very, very highly scheduled experience. When you go out on a mission of some sort, you actually are doing minute by minute scheduling. And so perhaps that's where I learned to get so focused on time. At the same time, I also learned what the consequences are when you don't own your own calendar. So I know for me, I was new in the role, and I really was needing a lot of guidance. I also needed to have exercise time, because prior to entering politics, I had been a marathon runner. I was always training for some kind of race, and that was really my space to be able to refuel myself. Unfortunately, what I did was I allowed my staff to schedule in everything for me, because I thought that's what I needed to do. What that caused was a whole lot of stress. I was not at my best. Then mistakes happen, and who's going to be responsible for those mistakes? If you're the leader, you are. So if necessary, it's really important, especially if you're in one of the top roles of leadership, if you're the CEO of the organization, that you be very unwavering about where in your calendar you're going to schedule in time that you can call buffer time, call it you time, but definitely time for refueling. I cannot say enough how very important that is, and the consequences of not scheduling it in are very important. The other thing is, another tip is scheduling your day in 15-minute increments. I know that sounds like, wow, like 15-minute increments? That's not very much. But when you actually start to parcel out your time, you're going to find that you use that time really effectively. You get better at being able to announce the beginning of the meeting, get down into the nitty-gritty of what the details of the meeting are, and then you learn how to close. In learning how to close a meeting off, you also are setting boundaries for yourself, which is also really important as a leader. So I've always tried to, well, not always, but I've learned to schedule in 15-minute increments for meetings that I know are not going to take too much time. They might be introductory meetings. I often schedule 15-minute meetings for those people who might be interested in learning about my program. Then I would move on to a 30-minute meeting if it's going to be a lot more discussion. Maybe you're doing some planning. But if you have that 30 minutes, you will be amazed at how much you can get done if you schedule using a proper agenda and focusing on the details of the meeting and not letting it go astray. The third advice I have for you, the third tip, is to use a platform that you really enjoy using. One that I'm going to suggest to you today is a platform called Calendly. And I'll provide a link to that website below. But basically, Calendly is an option that you can use where you allow it to hook up to your calendar. So I use a Google Calendar. And so I've hooked up Calendly to not only my Google Calendar, but also to Zoom. And so what I typically do is I send out the Calendly link, which is an invite to whomever would like to schedule some time with me. They can see my calendar and know where the openings are in my calendar. You can plan it from behind the time to be able to provide buffer time for yourself in your calendar. It works like magic. It is a game changer. I find that then people are a lot more quick to jump into booking the meeting, and all is done. Then there's a link provided for Zoom if you're going to be doing a Zoom call. All is done, presto. So I will definitely add that in the link below, and you can have a look at Calendly. I highly, highly recommend it. It is a free app. There is, of course, as always with apps, there's also an upgrade. Currently, I'm just using the free app because I'm all about trying to find things for free. So those are my tips today. I hope they've been helpful for you, and I hope that these tips on ditching your to-do list creates a lot more time in your schedule so that you can take time for yourself, for your family, and for your own self-care. Thanks, everyone.